Rain of Troy Hotline.
Alicia, Michael, what's going on?
We know you have takes. We have takes.
I'm actually surprised that your rant line, rave line, whatever, isn't completely full.
Why can't we just win a game?
Can I blame Michael Castillo for this?
Can I blame Bob Connolly for this?
Could I put on a zebra shirt and just go out there?
Scratch, claw, up against the wall.
Can't explain it, what I'm feeling right now, guys.
I can't believe it.
Let's open up that rave line! Woohoo!
Oh, I can't believe USC is 7-5 again. Oh no!
Rant Troy Radio episode 604 coming to you on Wednesday, July 9th. We're going to talk about the launch of the new EA Sports College Football 26 game, which launches officially tomorrow, July 10th. We're going to talk about the new game, our thoughts about the new game, our thoughts about how this past year has gone with the game. This entire episode, all about EA Sports College Football 26. As always, you can follow us on social media at Rant of Troy. Email us, rantoftroy@fanside.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227. Second What's Bruin Show. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, joined along with my co-host here in the Rant of Troy studio in Los Angeles, Alicia Daratola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. We are back. I've got my JMU cap. Go Dukes. Because this is the College Football 26 episode. And they were my favorite franchise in College Football 25. So much so that I literally bought a hat to support the Dukes. Go Dukes.
Yeah, you did. You got your Dukes.
Mm-hmm.
I could have worn my Memphis shirt.
True.
But I didn't. That's not the shirt I grabbed. So I failed.
I was JMU, and then I went to South Carolina. I do have a South Carolina hat, but it says a word that we probably can't have posted on YouTube. You can figure out what that word is. Alicia, you started at Memphis, then went to FAU, Utah State, and New Mexico State. Little roundabout route for you.
Yeah. So
This is our online dynasty, by the way.
This is our online dynasty.
Yeah.
My Odyssey was Memphis, and then being so bad at the game that I got really frustrated with Memphis, and then tried to leave Memphis. Went to FAU, where I had a loaded roster relative to FAU and a really good young quarterback, and I was super excited. And then I got fired in year one, which was very annoying.
Yeah.
And then I got hired at Utah State, where I got fired in year two, which was very annoying because I was on the up and up with them. And then I got hired at New Mexico State, arguably the worst program in the game. Kent State might have something to say about that, but
then you turn it around big league.
I mean, year one, what was I was like 2-10 or 3-9.
Yeah.
But I lost. I was basically USC. I lost every game that I lost by one possession or less, and almost all of them came down to the final minute of the game, like the final possession of the game. Year two, I go on and win Coosa. And made it to the Bahamas Bowl, where I won the Bahamas Bowl. So
10-win season for you.
Look at that. So it took me literally a year to get not terrible at the game, but
happens.
I did end 2020. I did end College Football 25 not terrible at the game.
You got the momentum on your side.
I got the momentum on my side. Yes.
Yeah. I started at JMU, got the South Carolina offer after 3 seasons. And then from there, had success with South Carolina, got in the playoff, made it to the semifinal once, and then made it to the national championship game the last season that I played, which was this past season. So didn't win a national title. We're going to save that for EA Sports College Football 26. Let's discuss gameplay. We'll start with gameplay. Alicia, what was your experience with gameplay this past year before we get to the new features?
I mean, it was just good to have the game back. You know, I think that there was whatever criticism there might have been about the game, I think for me would have been very easily just shrugged off because for the first time in 10 years, we got the game back and they were sort of starting from scratch on that front. So from a gameplay perspective, I just found it to be really, really fun. I think my biggest frustration with the gameplay was on Heisman level difficulty, you have to be perfect as a passer. Like if you make even the slightest error, it's an interception and probably a pick six.
Yeah.
So my biggest criticism of the gameplay would be DBs should not have so much hands that are 50,000 times better than any of my wide receivers.
Yeah.
So like my wide receivers would, I think, probably had a 50% drop rate at New Mexico State and Utah State because boy, were they bad.
Yeah.
And DBs in the game, I can count on one hand, maybe, in all of the seasons that we played, the number of times a DB dropped an interception.
The interesting thing is DBs in this game have great hands, but they don't always make plays on the ball. If they make a play on the ball to go for the interception, they're going to get it more often than not. But a lot of times they just don't make any plays on the ball, which is interesting because as we get into the gameplay, we're going to talk about like interceptions, and that's one of the defensive updates, is that they are making sort of the DBs have better catching ability.
That's what I don't understand. I saw that update and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I mean, hold on. That was not the problem that I had. Like the DBs not being good enough was not my issue with the game.
But this is where because, you know, in our league, we've all sort of complained to each other about the times that you slam on triangle to try to get a pick and doesn't register. Nothing, your dude doesn't jump or whatever. My theory about that has always been, I think there's a little bit of RNG and it is dependent on your player's ability to have one of the interception abilities, but also their awareness, play recognition, all that kind of stuff. And their pass defense their coverage skills, because it shouldn't be that you just press triangle and the guy puts his hands up, because a crappy player should not be able to, you shouldn't be able to rely on a crappy player to make that play just as you would an All-American level talent. So I'm hoping that the change there that they're going to implement on defense is more so allowing the lower rated players to make more plays on the ball rather than physically catching it more, because catching it was not the problem. It was whether or not they were going to put their hands up was the issue from the defensive side of things. But yes, to your point about on the offensive side of it, yeah, it always seemed like the DBs never dropped a pass, unlike the wide receivers.
Now, on the flip side, I think the element of the game that I really, really enjoy is how, to me at least, natural running the ball feels. Mm-hmm. Like the running backs, the way that they work their way through the gaps in the offensive line. I really enjoy sort of the timing of the timing element that's involved in that. The importance of not sprinting right away, like picking your moments to sprint, picking your moments to do a juke or a spin or bounce it outside or whatever.
With the running back, you can sort of get that little boost, especially if your guy has takeoff, where suddenly you can just hit the gap and it's like they've gone 0 to 60.
Yeah,
in a split second.
It's like they got like a
rocket boosted
NOS or something like that.
Yeah. But it feels natural because like in the way that, yeah, some of it is extreme on the higher level players, but think of Ronald Jones. When Ronald Jones would make that cut, he would go from like 0 to 10 yards up the field in a blink, right? Like that was his patented move on his big long runs. So
yeah. So like in that sense, I think that I definitely leaned a lot on running the ball in my Dynasty, and like I enjoy running the ball, where I find passing to be just the most stressful thing that I've like anxiety inducing thing that I've ever experienced. To the point of like I sort of started to I started to like relate to quarterbacks that we talk about, like, when a quarterback's been ruined. I think of like Cody Kessler had that moment of like he just was fearless, and then all of a sudden you saw the fear smack in there. Mm-hmm. You see this with quarterbacks in the NFL all the time when they
seeing
just
ghosts.
Yes, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, all that kind of stuff. You
can get in your head pretty easily.
I was seeing ghosts. I was terrified to throw anything that wasn't an automatic, like, no question, just dink and dunk.
Yeah.
Or just like lob it downfield and see what happens.
Yeah, I loved the passing game in this game. It felt way more diverse than Madden. Also, I was able to throw the ball downfield more than I have been in Madden. Though part of it is that I think the go balls were a little too OP. If you got press coverage, you had a receiver with takeoff, basically an automatic touchdown, especially if they're in cover 1 or cover 0. And that is going to be sort of addressed. You're going to boost the man defense and whatnot. So we're going to see how that goes. But yeah, it was a great to have the game back. Great to have option plays and quarterback runs and stuff that were way more developed and thought through strategically than Madden has had, which is great. Let's get to the new features in terms of gameplay. Start with dynamic subs. In-game subs, they're calling it no more pausing, just playing. Basically, pre-snap, you can sub your guys in and out, sort of for the next play or whatnot. Our good friend Nick Shook was at EA Studios, EA Sports studio, whatever they have in Orlando.
Their preview event for Madden and CFB.
And he was saying that this works a lot like NBA 2K, where you can just basically do your subs on the fly, which is way easier than having to go through the triangle menu that would pop up when you're in the play screen, and then you're trying to change one dude, then all of a sudden the play clock is going down, you don't have time, and then it doesn't get in, and then you didn't pick a play. Like, this should make it so much more easier to say, okay, on this play I want this receiver there, that receiver there, this running back in, that guy out. I think it's going to be huge.
It's one of my biggest, the things I'm most looking forward to in the new game is getting to do dynamic subs, especially because I think that was my other big complaint about the game, is that they introduced the wear and tear feature.
Yeah.
But then I found it very difficult to actually prevent my players from getting worn and torn, even though my system and my style should have been built perfectly for this, because most seasons I was running like no fewer than a 2-man backfield. In the past season with New Mexico State, I had 4 running backs that I was perfectly comfortable with being in the game and playing.
Yeah.
And it was just, I had my auto subs for running backs turned way up. The idea being that, like, I wanted constant subbing. I wanted anybody who was even slightly tired or worn and torn out of the game and putting a fresh back in.
Yeah.
And it didn't really work out that way. Like, the way that the subs operated, the logic behind when it decided to have a player in, what package it decided different players were going to be in, like, when the third down back or the power back got activated, and then the depth chart of that dictating, all of those things just like drove me crazy.
Well, I think it doesn't help how you pick your plays. You are a player who likes to go through different screens rather than just relying on the formation pages, right? And I am someone who I'm going to go to the formations and then I'll change the packages and whatnot.
I do formation. Well, on offense, I do formation changes.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying
pages.
is I will watch you play all the time, and you're willing to like go to different screens and everything, and
well, yeah, because actually sometimes I decide I want to do a play action,
and then you go to all the play action.
So I'll go to the play action screen because
and when you do that, you lose the ability to change a package.
Yes, which is very annoying.
And then the other thing is the way that the game works. Some formations use the third down back. Some use,
and they don't like tell you. Like I wish, unless if they do, I don't know where it is. Like I wish it gave an indication of like.
I think it's way more clear on defense to know if it's going to use the sub linebackers or the middle linebackers, considering it's going to use the sub linebackers when you're in a nickel non-base defense.
Yeah,
which makes sense logically. I don't think that logic works.
But like if I'm in pistol, like in the pistol, I think of 4 or 5 pistol groupings that I have, one of them uses the third down back.
Yeah.
And
you just have to kind of remember that it does.
Yeah, but I don't know like why that one uses the third down back and the other ones don't. Like, or, you know, and I did pick up eventually that's what it was doing, but like it was very frustrating because oftentimes that's my go-to. This is the halfback week trips. Yeah. My go-to play, like my go-to run play. It's I like if I cheese anything, it's that play.
Well, this is why
we have cooldowns, so like you can't run a play. There's like 2 plays or 3 plays in between each play being allowed to be run. And so like I can't cheese it totally, but I do very much think to myself, if this is going to be a third and anything under 7, I need to make sure that I have that play available to me because I will just run it and do that. But then when my RB1 is worn and torn up the wazoo and I don't want him in and I've subbed in my backup, but then I go to that trips and then it's, it goes back to RB1 because he's the third down, back. It's it's just annoying.
Yeah. And this is why, like, I would go through there and set all those different running backs to different, all those different running back spots in the depth chart to different running backs and use that as my way to shuffle. But with the dynamic in-game subs, that should be much easier. There's also, with the wear and tear stuff, they're calling it more depth, more control. There's now new auto sub settings in the menus before the game. You can go in there and there's 4 different modes. So you can go to your running backs and you can change it to just default and then it just stays as it is. You can put it to keep fresh, which is what you're going to want to do.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Which EA says that it's inspired by real world rotation strategies like Michigan's frequent running back substitutions. So it's always going to have the freshest running back in the game. There's grind it out for teams that want to use their best players on the field as long as possible. Players push through being banged up and only sub out when absolutely necessary. There's that mode if you want to have that there. And then there's custom ones where they say that you can, based on the lowest health of specific body parts, giving you the precise control, which is crazy.
Well, like for running backs,
and I want to see how that plays out.
I could see the idea of like for running backs saying you're okay with their legs being hurt to get less speed, but you don't want their arms to be hurt to fumble the ball, or like a quarterback where you're okay with if they've got a little bit of a leg thing going. Not that you would sub quarterbacks, but like that kind of whatever it is. Like I can imagine specific positions saying I don't care if you've got an arm injury.
Well, I think that's what's good about this is that you can change it by position group, right? So like you can have your running backs on keep fresh. And you can have your receivers on grind it out if you want to.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. There's also new career spanning wear and tear. So your dude can get hurt in his freshman season, and that can affect him in his junior season.
This scares me.
Realistic, very realistic. But we'll see how that goes.
I can't live with another Trey Madden.
Yeah. And it's also going to be visualized wear and tear. Madden used to have the thing where like the guy would just be huffing and puffing and look really stupid at the line of scrimmage. You're going to get more animations like the quarterback rubbing his leg, holding his arm, a receiver shaking his wrist, whatever it is. Those type of things I think are going to be interesting. There's expanded archetypes and new abilities. That's always good. Battering ram is one of them. It sounds cool. Ball carriers get to inflict increasing levels of wear and tear on defenders, which sounds awesome. It's like the Earl Campbell stuff.
This is my New Mexico State running back Rudy Rush.
Yes,
would have been a battering ram in this past game. I'm gonna say though, yes, 100%. I have to admit, the archetypes that already existed, I don't think I know them well enough to be excited about more archetypes to keep track of.
Yeah, we're gonna get we can get to a lot of the archetypes when we get to the Dynasty talk, but like there's specific ones like in one of the beta tests there was East-West Playmaker. That's I don't think that actually made it in, but there's things like as your wide receiver, it's not just physical deep threat route runner anymore. There's way more specific types of players that you can have somebody be, which I think is super realistic. There's gonna be 2,800 new plays, way more individuality to the stock playbooks. There's gonna be more new concepts like things like the jet power read, which I think is going to be awesome. That's something that SC like tried to run in the Nebraska game for like a couple plays. New motion types. I think that's going to be fascinating because that stuff is always changing. New RPOs and quarterback runs. Smarter option routes. Think like Tennessee and what they want to do and sort of the run and shoot kind of offense that goes with those. Gadget packages, which I think is going to be super fun. Think Penn State and Tyler Warren, how they put him all over the field. SC knows that better than anyone, right? And you can sort of have a gadget guy. There's going to be a gadget spot in the depth chart to say, this is my gadget guy. What I'm interested to see is, how does this play out in Dynasty if you recruit a guy who's an athlete? Is that the guy can you make that guy your gadget guy? He's a quarterback, but you moved him to receiver, but he's your gadget guy so he can throw the ball maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fun. I also wonder if they haven't done this, then they really need to have it be thinking about it. Is like, I don't know if it would be an archetype or just players who can more clearly fit the mold of like a Travis Hunter or like an Adoree Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, going two ways. Like, I know these players are rare, but we are seeing
there. If I remember it, there was a two-way player icon in the game last year. But I don't remember ever seeing those in recruiting.
One of my biggest frustrations in terms of like positions is I did find it more difficult than I would have imagined to switch players from like corner to wide receiver or wide receiver to corner. So that's like part of me wonders, is there the realization that like you could have a corner who plays wide receiver?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works.
99
I did see
corner.
that when we get to Dynasty stuff, they're going to have it to where when you can have a decline sometimes when you change positions, then ramps up because to mimic the idea that like you're learning a new position and that you're in a sort of transition stage, which I think is interesting. With the playbook stuff, Penn State got a lot of additions here, like their swinging gate, shotgun gate. The Rice pistol wingback is in it. Duke's wide Y-off trip stack formation is in it. There's a bunch of new formations for specific playbooks, but they're also going to make the collection of plays within the playbooks be way more individualized per school, which I think is good. At quarterback, last year they introduced the revamped passing, which they added to Madden as well. This time they're going to have field vision, and no, it's not. EA Sports is saying it's not a vision cone like the old Madden games. Quote, field vision accounts for your quarterback's height, the size of the offensive and defensive linemen, and their proximity to the pocket. Smaller quarterbacks under center, especially on quick drops or throws between the numbers, will experience realistic visibility limitation. That's why many real-life quarterbacks favor shotgun or pistol looks. I'm fascinated to see how this works. I think a lot of it is you're gonna you sort of get penalized in the sense of like the buttons for what your slot receiver is sort of goes away when your quarterback is short and you can't see over the line, over the middle. Like those type of things, I think will be a factor here, and you'll be able to see. Hopefully, this leads to more deflected, batted balls at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
that would be more realistic.
There certainly were not very many batted balls at the line of scrimmage in my playthrough experience.
Enhanced quarterback progression system, recognizing that lower rated quarterbacks were previously more successful than we would like, so they've expanded the gap between elite and lower tier quarterbacks, says EA.
Hold on. Recognizing that lower rated quarterbacks were previously more successful than we would like.
It's a scary
somebody who had to go through multiple seasons and multiple teams with quarterbacks who were barely like 72s, I'm in danger. I protest that they were more successful than they should have been, because my God.
Yeah, it's very streaky too, which obviously was a thing last year with the players going hot or cold. Recognizing pressure is going to be a thing. Higher awareness will be more of a factor for quarterbacks. I think that's great.
I've been wondering about that when I recruit quarterbacks and other players, like how much should I care about awareness? And my philosophy would be that awareness should be an incredibly important stat.
Mm-hmm. It says quarterbacks with higher awareness now identify multiple hot read route options immediately after the snap, mirroring how elite quarterbacks diagnose and counter aggressive pressure in real life. These upgrades reduce the once dominant effectiveness of a double A gap blitz and create more balanced strategic gameplay. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that functions. I haven't watched enough of the gameplay videos to see that, like, does a guy just get highlighted if your guy's got the ability to see that?
I would love that.
Last year they had the little indicators if the defense was in second or third, cover 2 or cover 3. There were little or cover 4.
Well, and then they'd have the little the icon above somebody who's blitzing.
Right. I think it's probably more of that.
Yeah. But it would be nice if somebody is blitzing, then it like flashes on the receiver who's running the route that's going to be into their vacated zone, maybe. Like, I think that would be really useful from my perspective as somebody who struggles to process quickly enough to like do all of that. If the game told me like, oh yeah, that's where I'm going, then that would be nice.
Yeah. Defensive updates. Defensive players will move in pre-snap. Safeties will walk down. Players cannot intercept passes if they're not turned around to see them. This is great. The number of times you threw like a deep ball and then you'd have like a Willie Mays type catch.
The basket, yes, the Willie. That's exactly the way to describe it. Yeah. The number of times Willie Mays was on the damn field.
That's how the EA developer literally described it in the game in the game notes here. That too many Willie Mays catches. No more backward acrobatic picks without vision, they say. The defense will also have access to stunts and twists. And custom zones. The custom zones are going to be sort of the defense's answer to custom route stems, because in last year's game, they made it to where if you have a guy on a slant, you can basically extend that slant out however you want it. If you got a guy on an in, do you want him to take the in 5 yards out and it's almost like a little drag? Do you want him to be 10 yards out and it's like a dig? Like, how do you want him to go? Where do you want the route to actually be run? Now you can do the same thing defensively. So you can say, okay, I want this safety to cover very deep. I want this safety to not cover very deep. However you want it to be. I think that's good, especially if you're playing online or you're playing against a user who's spamming a play. Like, or you're just going to try to guess. Like, he's going to go deep with this guy. Now I'm going to take my safety and just put him way deep in center field to try to take this away.
It allows you to sort of cover two things at once too, because like when you're playing somebody and they're spamming something, you could just say, okay, I'm going to take this safety or I'm going to take this linebacker and I'm going to sit where I think they're going to throw. Yeah. But that means that you can only really do things as a player. You can only really do things, do one thing at once.
Now you can have the CPU do.
Yeah. Now you can have you can say, okay, the CPU is going to cover that one on top, and then I'll be the linebacker and I'll go sit in this zone in case he wants to, instead of throwing deep, get this one underneath. And then
and we've seen it before with like shading. You can shade inside, you can shade outside, you can shade forward and back. You can man up a guy defensively. Those are sort of your defensive hot routes that you can make your hot calls. But I don't think it's as intuitive as the custom zone. So I think that's going to be a big help. The defensive line gets a big help with block steering. You can basically steer. The defensive lineman can basically push the offensive lineman towards the ball so you can reach your hand out and make a tackle. I think that's going to be fun on defense, annoying as hell when you're running the ball on offense.
I'm very excited about this because I am somebody who I don't trust my ability to control.
You're a D-line user.
I am a D-line user. I don't trust my ability to control a safety or a linebacker. Yeah. And so I am all about the D-line, D-line moves and all that kind of stuff. This is exciting for me personally.
Yeah. Showing blitz now only has the linebacker showing blitz. I think that's great because that's way more realistic, because if you show blitz and all your safeties
everybody
walk down too, the use case for that in real life is way less than just the linebackers. There's going to be new defensive formations with physics, new tackle types, wrap catch tackle, in-range lunges like we were talking about with the block steering. And then last thing to note for gameplay, home field advantage is going to be sort of refined.
Speaking of things that were already very difficult, that they're like, no, they weren't difficult enough.
Well, that was the funny thing. Like, you read the notes, and they're like, yeah, it just wasn't challenging enough. And it's so interesting because, like, I think there's a middle ground, right? Because if you are New Mexico State and you go on the road to play number 2 Texas at DKR, it's impossible to do anything, right? Like, the sound is unbearable. All your passing icons are all over the place. You can't make any audibles. It's a factor. However, when you play a road game in conference to a team that isn't ranked or anything, it's completely non-existent. I think that's where they are looking to make it a little bit more challenging, especially when it's going to have sort of dynamic home field advantage here, where night games and rivalries will have more crowd impacts. Some of those impacts include a clock that's disguised, which I think is going to be fascinating to see how that works. Like if you're in a 2-minute drill and suddenly the clock is going in and out of focus, it's going on and off your screen. Like, that's real life. That's realistic.
That's super realistic. I do like that addition. What I don't like is, like, for instance, the kicking stuff, where it's already impossible to kick in this game.
It's impossible to kick on the road, especially.
If you're on the road, I don't kick.
Yeah.
No matter how close I am, unless it's like literally a straight on and it's not loud.
Where I hope it helps is with the CPU. Because the CPU kickers are
too good.
They're all like Adam Vinatieri back there, right?
Yeah, like hitting 48-yard field goals
left and right. Yeah,
when
the crowd should impact them like they are impacting us. If that's a factor with this, awesome. Love that. Let's get to Dynasty stuff. We've talked about our Dynasty in the open. We're in a Dynasty with a bunch of our friends, and it's a grand old time. We love it. Crossplay is now going to be there. Xbox users, I guess we can welcome them in to the good side.
We already know at least one of our coworkers is an Xbox guy. He's going to be able to join our
potentially
our
a
league.
second one. We're working on that.
Are we working on a second one?
There's the second one. I'll tell you about it later.
All right, that's exciting. But yeah, no, it's funny because we've had this league. How many people did we end on?
18, I think.
We had 18. I would say there was probably a handful, 5 or so over the course of the year of people that wanted to join until they found out it was PlayStation. And they were like, oh, well, I'm Xbox. It's like, well, sucks to suck. But now that's not going to be an issue. That's awesome. I love crossplay.
Yeah, it was a big addition when it happened in the show, MLB The Show. They have crossplay with Switch even, which is always fun. There's Trophy Room is finally back. I think this is the big deal that everybody wanted, especially in Dynasty. And it's a dynamic trophy room. I know dynamic gets thrown out a lot, but like basically you can see your overall trophy room, but also there's a trophy room for each individual Dynasty save. I love that because you can sort of isolate it into the different universes that you have. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, because my thought is I want to try and do like a completionist Dynasty with a single coach where I try to like get all of the trophies that you can get. And yeah, if you did that overall, like, whatever I was doing in our online dynasty, and then it would just be like, okay, whatever. But like per dynasty where I can literally put forth the challenge of this coach is going to win literally everything.
You want to win every conference.
I want to win every conference title. I want to win every, whatever stuff is in the trophy room. Like I want to complete it all. And I love having that, that goal. Like when I play video games, I am like a completionist in the sense of I like checking boxes and they're giving me boxes to check, which is very exciting.
Yeah. One that you don't have to monitor yourself. Yeah. Right. Like, you and I both run a spreadsheet for, we're those kind of dorks, to do a lot of our roster management stuff. But like you could run a spreadsheet to keep all the stuff wins and losses and all that kind of stuff if you wanted to. This is going to help out a lot with that. Coaching updates. Real life coaches are in the games. EA made a big deal about Belichick being in the game.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Not Bill. It's his son.
Oh, it's his son.
His son is in the game.
My gosh. Okay.
There's new outfits, which is great because there were only 2 outfits last year.
Which is to say, there are outfits.
There are outfits, yeah.
Like there was a whole section of the menu that it was very clear that like they had the idea, they were going to put it in, and then it was like, nah, we'll do that later. Like,
it's there. Level, your coach's level now maxes out at 100 rather than 50. In our online dynasty, I don't know that that's that big of a deal. In an offline, I think it's massive. When you have an offline where you're just playing by yourself and you've gone, you're 20 years into the future, when you max out at level 50 because you've won 4 national titles in the first 8 years, it kind of gets boring and repetitive. You've done everything already. Yeah. Now I think there's going to be way more longevity to those dynasties because not only are you going to have the trophy room, but you're going to be able to continue to max out your coach with all the different abilities. And those abilities are being revamped too. There's going to be new abilities within like program builder. One of them like impacts how you hire. What kind of coaches are you looking to hire completed guys? Are you looking to hire young up and comers? Like that will be sort of an element in the game, which will be interesting to see how that goes. Also, maybe my favorite addition to the game, period, notifications for when your coordinators get purged. Yeah. Poached.
Yeah, instead of going to look at the coaching thing, it was like, I have to hire somebody now. Well.
Yeah. Now you will be notified, which is great. The transfer portal has been drastically overhauled, which is good. Love the transfer portal until you get in there and realize that only 3 dudes are even
available.
Interested in talking to you. Now they say, we've revamped the transfer portal to create more realistic movement, especially among 4 and 5-star players. Up to 3,500 athletes can enter the portal each season, giving you more options for roster building every season.
What I think is going to be
last year was like 400 or 500 players, so it's a big upgrade.
Huge. And I think what the big difference, certainly in our dynasty, is going to be one of the base rules is that you start out at a program that is 2 stars or less.
I think we're gonna do 1.5.
We're gonna do 1.5,
yeah.
so even less, 1.5 stars or less.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start in sort of at the very bottom of G5.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to be extra important now is because I imagine that there will be coaching abilities that have to do with if I remember correctly, there are coaching abilities that have to do with player retention.
Yes.
I think that player retention is going to be so much more important for those lower level schools than it has been in this game, which will be very realistic because if you have, Trevor Harris out there as your 5-star quarterback being
JMU legend,
being insanely good, like realistically in today's day and age of college football, he will transfer.
Yes. There was no reason he kept staying to be a Duke the whole time. Yeah. Trevor Harris was my first big quarterback recruit.
He was the big quarterback recruit before they nerfed quarterbacks.
Before they nerfed quarterback recruits, he had like 97 throwing power, 97 speed, like absolutely cracked. He was only an 86 overall, but like realistically, he was like a 97. You know what I mean? He was absolutely nuts. I think that we're gonna see how the transfer portal goes. Playing time has more of an effect, even if it's not their deal breaker. I love that,
which makes a lot of sense.
Sort of works as sort of like a dynamic deal breaker situation.
And aren't they doing dynamic deal breakers too? Where like you might have one deal breaker to start with, but as you get, like, you have a player whose deal breaker was like proximity to home, but then they become a really big star, and then their deal breaker becomes more like championship contender, because that is what happens with players as they
that's more realistic.
older,
And that's also how, if you're a dev and you're trying to put the game together, that's how you get to 3,500 guys who are willing to be in the portal and leave. And also you talk about when we're at, low rated schools, keeping our guys and having the retention there. But not only that, but going and getting the dudes who don't pan out at the bigger schools, right? Because like the transfer portal is fascinating because like there really is this recycling, right? Like your Fresno States of the world, yes, you're going to lose your best player every year probably, but you're also going to get like a 5-star guy who was a bust.
You're going to get Corey Foreman.
Who was like labeled as a bust, but maybe he actually isn't a bust. Maybe he just was in the wrong place at the wrong time, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so like that, I think hopefully can be a realistic thing here. Dynasty will have recruiting battles when a player is down to 2 schools. The recruiting bar sort of resets, which will be really fun because then when you, especially in a online league that we have with users, you can sort of get back into the game. If you're in a situation where someone, is suddenly catching up to you really quickly before you're able to put in all of your hours back in him and go after him, it resets and now you can go out and battle him, or vice versa. The guy looks like he's about to commit, but suddenly you've made a run at it. Well, it resets. Let's go head to head. I think that's going to be fun. And visits cheaper for local recruits.
This is one of my
real life.
This is one of my favorite things that they've added in. As somebody who spent the entirety of the last game with low level programs with very, very limited recruiting hours, one of the things that I liked to do because of I like to target guys with a proximity to home deal breaker, because I knew that like that's. If one area was green, in a field of red factors,
right,
like that was one area that I could have a leg up, but it didn't. When you have so many limited recruiting hours, like it only helped. It only helps so much. Where this will actually help significantly a program with low recruiting hours to really, really prioritize local recruits, that you get more bang for your buck in terms of not having to spend. You have more hours to use elsewhere because a guy is right there. Yeah,
I think it's gonna be interesting to see just how much cheaper it is. I haven't looked into Dynasty playthroughs yet. The game, of course, is out now for pre-order. So if you got pre-order, you get 3 days. of early play, so you can be playing right now. But if you ordered it normally, as it drops on the 10th tomorrow. So go out and look to see how that is affected there. I think it's going to be very interesting. Manual player progression. Last year's game was players progressed, but like there was a currency in the game for players to progress, these coins, but you didn't get to spend the coins. They were just there, and the game decided where to put the coins. So like the game decided if they were going to boost the guy's awareness or his speed or whatever. Now you're going to be able to do that. I like this, and I hate this at the same time. Like this because it gives you more control, obviously. Hate this because, let's be real, we're just going to spam speed, right?
It's gonna be, we're gonna be so stupid and spam speed. It's also just gonna be another thing to micromanage. That's just gonna be like I will micromanage it to the point where it doesn't. It wastes a lot of my time because I'm micromanaging.
If it's going to be like Madden, where Madden has it to where you spend the player points and you can just hit triangle and auto do it. I think that's always fun because the guys that matter to you, your Trevor Harrises of the world, you're going to go in there and you're going to say, I want these coins to be spent here, here, and here. The backup right guard, I don't give a shit. Triangle, just auto do it. If that's an option there, that'd be great.
Yes, 100%. I still think that one element that's missing from the game for me, and I don't think it's being added here, is the idea of like focused practice or focused.
So,
because doesn't Madden have like a practice?
Madden got some heat for not caring about franchise a few years ago, and they added a weekly strategy element. And in that weekly strategy, it was great for the first 2 years, and then you realize actually this is just a hassle. And I think that's why it wasn't, moved over to CFB. Basically, you would choose the type of things that your guys could practice with during the week. You could also choose how you were, based on what you were deciding to focus on, you got a boost. So like, for instance, we're going to focus on deep passes this week because we're playing a team that likes to chuck it, right?
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, we get +2 in coverage, but -2 in run pursuits or whatever, right? Like that kind of thing. I think that'd be great if they brought that into the game, but also by doing more of those practice weeks, your players get better at coverage, right? Like I think that would be an awesome little element to bring in.
That's how I feel. Like, obviously having lived through the Clay Helton era, just because you say you want to focus on something doesn't mean in practice doesn't mean it's going to.
In the Madden game, fatigue was huge with this, and you would choose whether you're going full pads, shells, or no pads. And if you did no pads, your fatigue wasn't affected. Shells, it was like only a little bit. And full pads, your guys would dev up more, but they would get worn and torn before the game. So, yeah, I think that there's an element of there that I think would be interesting to keep massaging into this game, and we'll see how that goes. Formation subs, that was a big request from last year. That'll be in the game. The thing that I like about this, that I was watching in one of the videos, is the formation subs are tied to formations. They're not tied to the book. Let me explain. So let's say that you have the USC playbook, right? And let's say that in the USC playbook, there's trips tight end. That's the formation, right? And so you're going to go into the formation and you're going to say, okay, I want Mekhi Lemon to be the middle trip guy. In the trips, I want him to be the middle receiver, right? You can set that. 2 weeks into your game, you're like, actually, I don't like the USC playbook. I want the Clemson playbook. You go to the other Riley brother, right? And you go get the Clemson playbook, and that same formation is in the game. You don't have to go to trips tight end because you've already set that Mekhi Lemon is where you want him to be. So that is awesome.
That's big for me as somebody who has a habit of
Changing playbooks?
no, because I tend to try and keep my custom playbook, but early on in the game I was doing that a lot. No, the formation subs like for me is big because I get so frustrated with micromanaging like during game with the play clock running.
Yeah.
But I almost always end up getting suckered into position changing an offensive lineman into a tight end.
Yes.
And then you end up in the situation where you have like pass plays where you have a tight end split out wide and he's a 330-pound offensive lineman.
Yeah. Like
and it's like, this is so stupid. But like, so being able to say like, okay, I want this is my first team tight end because when I'm running the pistol and I'm have him, you know, when I have him in line, like then that's how I want it to be. But if this formation has the tight end split out wide, then it's my second tight end who's my pass catching tight end, like that kind of stuff.
Maybe he's a converted receiver instead of a converted
offensive lineman.
Yeah. I think that's a absolute great use case. You can do that a little bit now with packages, but it's not foolproof. Like we were talking about earlier with dynamic subs coming in the game and whatnot. Dynamic subs will definitely help there, but doing the formation subs has it baked in from the beginning of the game in that formation, which is what you want.
I like being able to set this all up beforehand and then not have to worry about it at all.
Yeah. You don't have to go in there every single game and be like, because I would do that. One of my strategies in this game, this past season, was to go to a quad. It was quad halfback week. And I would put a tight end split out wide among the receivers. So I'd go to the tight end package. So that way I could audible into everything else because it was 21 personnel. 11 personnel. It was 11 personnel. So I was able to audible and change formations in no huddle. Where if I didn't have the tight end on the field, I wouldn't be able to do that because I had more receivers and then it was a limited number of formations I could actually change into based on the personnel.
Now that you bring that up, that's something that I'm going to want to focus on considerably because one of the things that I would like to use more is no huddle, but I do get frustrated with getting stuck on a formation, like in a personnel grouping and then sort of being limited to what kind of
sucks on defense.
Oh my gosh,
it's brilliant. It's a brilliant maneuver. But when you're playing somebody, either a user or the CPU does this too.
CPUs always do it. It's annoying as
like,
all hell.
It's 3rd and 2. You've gone to the 5-2 defense. All your big beefy boys are in there. You try to get the stop. They get the first down. Then they roll it forward as the no huddle. And suddenly it's 1st and 10. They've gone 4 wide. And you've got the 5-2 out there. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of screwed or vice versa with how it goes. So I think that's going to be fascinating to see how it goes. Talked about auto subs earlier, keep fresh, normal, grind it out, custom. We'll see how that works. Protected opponents within conferences, I think is going to be a nice addition. We had the issue in our league where there was like this bug where when you would promote a team to a conference, like if you took San Diego State from the Pac-12 and then the Pac-12, whatever the hell they're in, and you put them
they would have been Mountain West this past season,
the Big 12, then for some reason sometimes it would change the number of conference games. I've seen stuff that like that bug is being fixed, but also adding protected opponents is good too, because I'd love to go in there and be like, okay, SC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA are going to play every year, no matter what, in the Big Ten, which is how it should be, right? Like if you could choose that's what you would choose.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Last thing to discuss, presentation. Dynamic time of day is going to be in the game. I love this.
This is great.
I love this.
Because this is my experience of college football at USC. USC's 5 o'clock games start in sun and end in darkness.
But they've gone the extra step. The 5 o'clock game in September is going to look different than it is in November.
Oh.
And the 5 o'clock game in September in Seattle is going to look different than the 5 o'clock game in September in LA.
I love that.
I love that. Like, that is great. The MLB The Show has this to an extent where, like, when you go into a game, you set the time of day. The meta, everyone wants 7 p.m. games, but 7 p.m. games in July still starts in twilight. So October 7 p.m. is the perfect, because it's just automatically just max night game. It's just the night game. But then you end up playing someone online who wants to play at Pac Bell with their Giants roster, and they want a 4 o'clock game in June, and it's got like these weird ass lighting things where the batter's eye has all this sun on it. You can't see the ball coming out of Yu Darvish's hand, or somebody with some funky delivery, and it's toxic as hell. So, like, yes, it's great that MLB The Show has that. I don't think that's going to be there's going to be an advantage play here, but more so just more realism, which is what we want. And there's new intros, new cutscenes and stuff, which I think is going to be great. They added Enter Sandman for Virginia Tech. The clip that they put online looks awesome, looks great. But like I said to our friends, I've seen it. I will hit X every time and just skip through. These intros and the stuff, the cutscenes, cool. Not for me.
No, I again,
just get to the game.
100%. I am a skip through that, and I get really frustrated in user games in the Dynasty when you can't skip through the thing. I'm just like, okay, this is fine. This is cool.
The things we didn't discuss here are Road to Glory,
which I still have not even tried.
Well, Road to Glory last year, a lot of people were upset that you couldn't play high school games. High school games have been added. It's a mini season. It's 5 games. It sounds to me like it's a lot like what Madden did when they added college games.
Yes.
Where, like, it's kind of situational. You get game reps, but it's also situational. How you do affects your ability to be recruited and all that kind of stuff.
Your star rating.
Yeah. And so I think that's good. I might give it a go this year. I think that's going to be fun. My team is updated in that they've added generic stadiums, which I love.
Which is great, so that now you don't you have a team builder team, and then you have to be playing at some rando stadium with all of the other teams.
You would pick branding. The Coliseum. You'd make a team. I'd make Jigglebag State, right? You'd pick the Coliseum, and then, like, there were SC logos everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not immersive. Like, this is weird, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that in my team now, or the team builder, sorry, there's no longer a max of 10 logo uploads. It's just data. Like, there's just bandwidth that you get 5 megs. You have 5 megs, which, if you do it properly and you make like SVGs, those are very low data files, small itty bitsy.
Okay.
bytes.
Okay, Mr. Graphic Designer.
Yeah. Just saying. Yeah. Or if you use GIFs.
Are you gonna make me a new logo?
I could. I ended up not liking the one that I made.
I was gonna say I really like the one you made me, but
what was your team?
Rockhopper State.
Rockhopper State, the Penguins.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll probably make you a new logo.
Okay.
We should make a. No, that would be silly. I would say because in Gran Turismo 7 when that came out, I made a Reign of Troy car and it was so fun to make. I thought, we should make Reign of Troy football jerseys.
Wouldn't that just be a USC jersey?
Yes, it would. It would just be a USC jersey. So that's kind of dumb and pointless and stupid, huh? Yeah.
Do Reign of Troy alternates.
Maybe you just have the Rot logo on the 50-yard line. That would look kind of cool. Yeah. All right, the game drops officially tomorrow, 10 p.m. July 10th. There we go. I think it's midnight, which Does that mean it's technically tonight on the West
Well, it
Coast?
depends on what midnight they mean,
Yeah,
and I
this is
never
true.
am quite sure. So
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, go download the game if you want. Let us know what you are liking about the game. Let us know what your thoughts are. What are you going to do with your Dynasty? Are you picking SC? Are you someone who only picks SC and only plays with SC? Or are you someone who, wants to pick Kent State and take the Golden Flashes from...
I didn't do a USC Dynasty this time.
Wow. You talked about it.
I did. I fully planned to, and then
I think I did one, and I got very bored.
The problem is that you can only do so many things. So when you have the online dynasty, and then you have like a team builder dynasty, and then it's and then you also got FIFA eventually, and then it just there's too many games to play.
I feel like starting at a blue blood gets boring quickly.
Yeah,
because you just have too many advantages in recruiting. The other thing that I hated last year, and I haven't seen if this is addressed, I don't know. The number of rain games at the Coliseum was absurd. I swear to God, it was every other game.
It was
like
El Nino time. What is
La Nina?
La Nina?
I don't know. It was wild. Wild how many games were in the rain. So, hopefully that's addressed. We'll see how that goes. We're excited to play. Let us know how your play goes as well. Until then, I guess we'll be back next week, the 16th. So, until then, any final word?
Controller.
Controller. That's a good one. What's your favorite PlayStation button?
I don't like the PlayStation buttons.
They're the best buttons.
No.
Yes, they are.
No. This is my part of the reason I suck at the game and passing is because my brain does not compute.
I hate when people are like, press B.
X and
what is B? I don't know what the hell B is.
A, B, X, and Y. Easy money. All one syllable, all distinctive. Instead you X, and then you got the circle and the square, and they're all.
It's technically not X. According to Sony.
What is it?
Cross.
Cross. Yeah, that's stupid.
Which is wild.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Cross, triangle, all this A, B, X, Y. They had it perfect.
My only complaint is that square and circle are the ones that look the closest,
and they're the same color,
and they're the closest in color. Yeah,
this is why I throw
one is
the
orange
wrong
and one is
pass
red
all the time.
Yeah, but I just remember square is always over here, circle's always over there.
Yeah, you've told me this, and it doesn't compute. My brain doesn't.
The only time
that's not how my brain
doesn't work.
Sometimes they're on the same side.
Yes, if it's like quads or trips or something like that.
And what if I'm running a mesh and they're crossing, and then it's like, well, square. Which one's square? Which one's circle?
Which one's R1? The worst is like sometimes the running back is triangle.
And then sometimes they're R1. And how do they decide that? I don't know.
Well, it's based on the hierarchy of everything else, I guess. But all right. We'll be back next week.
See ya.
Until then, see ya.